here. So I'm going to be a mount. I'm going to get his arm to go across his neck. I'm going to put my arm underneath, and I want my palm down. Okay, not palm up. I want my palm down. Through here, if my shoulder is too high, I'm guaranteed I'm only going to crush his face. I'm not really going to get a very good choke. So I want to start down low onto his chest. I'm going to drive forward, and then I'm going to put my my chin into his ear. Now all we're going to do through here, put your hand behind your back, hand is on the floor, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to straighten out my right leg, and I'm just going to sink off to my side until he taps. So the goal is from here is to learn how to generate the pressure. It has nothing to do with my right hand, nor does it have anything to do with my right shoulder. It is simply as I sink, it is making my left shoulder make it to my left hand, and my forearm stays on the ground. Okay? If I'm falling and my elbow, that means all weight is literally falling away from him and it's going out this way. If it stays flat as I sink, and that's why my hand was completely behind my back, as I just sink my weight, if I lean my shoulder to the ground, it will touch the ground first and no weight will drop. So as I'm sinking, it's like I'm sinking my body off to the side and my shoulder is coming down to touch my hand. Again, when I'm in, I want to be low, come up, chin to ear. Okay. Now all I'm going to do is straighten out my right leg. As I sink to my hip, my chest continues down to the ground to actually make the choke. So notice, even though my hips are turning, my chest is still going flat. That's because this shoulder needs to go to this hand. Like I said, if I turn my whole body to my side, this shoulder drops, no pressure will ever make it from my left shoulder to my left hand. Notice, the choke itself, there is no squeeze. It's just body weight. We see too many people, they come in for their head-on triangles and literally they're squeezing so hard that they're shaking, yet there's zero choke going on. In this instance, I'm not squeezing at all. I'm literally just collapsing down to my hand, and the choke is already deeper than most people will get shaking trying to squeeze so hard. All right, let's give that a shot. 1, 2, 3. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go a little silly. So he's got me in position. Again, make his chin touch my ear, and it should be covering my deltoid. As he sinks, I'm going to make a loud humming noise so he can physically hear. And then as it collapses, he can chase the noise to know if it's actually closing it off or not. The choke is here. Okay? It's not in the hand. The choke is in the shoulder. The hand is pinned to the floor. We're not lifting up. We're pushing down. So through here, as he starts to sink, I'm going to hum, and he's going to hear the choke. No, chin to my shoulder. Leave it there. Now sink. He can audibly hear the sound change. And every shift he makes, he can hear the sound either increase or decrease. And so if you're not sure about whether or not your pressure is going in place, let your partner make that noise. And again, you're going to find as you sink, and again, this is the one issue. Everybody wants to squeeze up. There is no up. It's just a compression down. And as that happens, you hear the you'll hear it. And when you start to try to make adjustments, you'll literally hear the volume increase. And you know in that moment, every spike in volume is them recovering from the choke. And when you start falling off on the side, okay, I can't collapse this way and lean this way at the same time. The moment I start falling away, my shoulder's pulling away from my hand and you hear it open up. Okay, so let's do the same exercise. Now make the noise so your partner can literally chase the sound. All right, 1, 2, 3. Wide chin to the ear or chin to the shoulder.
I don't know.
Okay.
Does anybody know?
Does it close in your shoulder too?
Well, what is it I'm going to do to try to escape? And don't say answer the phone. Answer the phone is the most worthless defense to a head-arm triangle that ever existed.
Go out the nurse in your head and your arm around.
Get your arm out. That should be your defense. Not answering the phone, which actually buries your elbow deeper inside the choke. And people are going to go, well, I answer the phone so that I can create a gap. I can create the gap way better ways than answering the phone. Like I said, answering the phone for me always tends to be like the absolute worst. Okay? If I take my arm and I go like this, okay, and Gage puts his arm on the side, how hard can you flare your elbow this way? How hard can you flare your elbow that way? Okay? The muscles in trying to do this are garbage, and the muscles going this way, one of them only fires off parts of my deltoid, the other one actually fires off parts of my back. The back is always going to be stronger. So when somebody's going for the head-arm triangle, if your first response is doing the old answer the phone, and I'll raise my hand because I used to be part of that group because that's how it was taught. Okay? But we've evolved. We actually have much better ways. Answering the phone, okay? At that moment in time, I'll be honest with you, I love it when people answer the phone because all it does is it makes me have to squeeze harder. And then when your neck starts popping, you tap like everybody else. Because ultimately in that position, you haven't done anything to solve the problem. All you've done is you've made it take me another half a second to tap you out. Okay? So ultimately speaking, if we're going to go into our defense, go on this side. So when he's here, if I just go in and I answer the phone, how is this getting my elbow out? If anything, it's pushing harder into his arm, and now it's getting in my way to try to find my escape. So the reality is I'll go here. Okay, here, I'm gonna press, resist. Okay, resist. I'm still laying flat. I haven't even done anything extra yet. So when I'm in here, now obviously we want early escapes, not late escapes. If he connects, don't think it's going to be an easy way out when he's already made his connection. But right now, there is a little gap. So if I need to, I can reinforce my hands. I'm going to shove my elbow into the back of his head. Okay, so push in. Right here, that's all I need. Because my elbow is now facing where it needs to escape, a turn of my body and an elbow to the floor, and I can make my way out. If I'm answering the phone and I think I'm gonna pry it open, okay, I'm physically in a position that's garbage to actually make my... So realistically speaking, one, we want to start to understand when we're getting trapped. So we make our escape earlier rather than later, okay? And at the same time, if I go hand first to answer the phone, I'm literally putting myself in a much weaker position than if I just threw an elbow into the back of their head. And then all I need is a gap the size of my arm, and then I throw my elbow to the ground, and you're out. You'll be out way more often than you ever will be with answer the phone. Because again, answer the phone, all it does is it slows it down, but it doesn't provide a solution. Okay, we're playing the waiting game. If I answer the phone, maybe I can outlast your choke. Okay, and in most cases, I'm telling you, you can't. The reason why you've been escaping is because your partner's being nice to you. Your partner doesn't want to just the living crap out of your neck, and that's why you're escaping. Okay, the reality is, if we go with an actual way out rather than just trying to put time on the clock, you'll find your way out a lot more. So now, go into position. And again, you're going to find the earlier the better, but we're going to start with it already being locked up, okay? But don't turn your chin in. Do a couple. Find out what your partner's capable of, okay? And then if they escape, and in many instances they will, and again, the reason why you're not going to is because you're not putting the pressures in aggressively. Elbow strikes are not nice. They're fast and violent. So if you try to go with a slow turn, okay, you need to throw that elbow hard, you need to turn your body to the side, and you need to get your elbow to the ground. When we do that, you're going to find much more success to escape. Now though, when you lock them up, put your chin to their ear and see what the result is now. All right, let's get a shot. 1, 2, 3. Things together. So my favorite way of getting into the head arm and my favorite way of finishing the head arm is different than most people. I don't leave mount, I stay. Every person that's ever told me that they'll magically escape never has. My success rate of my head arm is still extremely high. Used to be with everything, it was always like hop off to the side, hop off to the side. That's where I was always told that's where the power is. But anytime that we have to make a major motion from one area to another, it's the motion that creates the opportunity for the escape. So my favorite is when I get in my mount, is I come in like I'm doing grapevines. I'll get under the head. Through here, because it controls his hips a lot more. If his head is up, then it's hard for him to lift his, become way more active. But if I'm holding his head up, it puts a lot more strain into his neck. Then I'll reach back and hook into his elbow. Now through here, as soon as I hook, when he starts to try to push his elbow back into me to stop me, I just put my hand on the floor. I'm not sitting here trying to match him muscle for muscle. I just put my hand in the ground. Drive in. So through here, I'm literally just doing a push-up into the floor. So the more he wants to push into me to try to fight me, I just put my hand in the ground. You see how my hand slide? So in order to counteract that, I just push my hand in harder. It's a different muscle group that he's fighting now. We're not fighting muscle on muscle. We're fighting not just my ability to push my arm forward, also fighting the friction that I can build in the ground. So now as he's fighting me here, okay, now I start walking my hand on the ground to start to expose his arm. Then my goal through here is, as I start to expose, is to then see how I'm walking sideways. Okay? I don't want to just lift him here. I want to continue so that my bicep is pushing that elbow sideways, so that now my chin can start to make connections and then I can feed. Now look at where we're at. I'm still too high. So this is where now, before I can go for my choke, I need to shift and resync. Through here, I go S-grip, but I go modified S-grip. So instead of being out here, I'll float back and forth between the 90-degree S, okay, and the parallel S. So now that I'm in, and I'm in position, I'm lifting my wrist up into the back of his neck. Now I straighten out my right leg, and I fall to my side. Okay, through here, I'm on my forearm. I'm still hooked up into his hip, going towards his ear, and my hip is still tight to him. When I go for my choke, it's like I'm pulling with my leg and I'm pulling with my arms to make my connection. So what's happening is through here is I'm sideways, but I'm pulling my way sideways. I'm in and I'm pulling myself in. I'm not picking him up. I'm bringing my body in to create the choke, but I'm also pulling my hips into his hips. So it's like I'm trying to suck us both together as tight as possible in the process. So again, when I'm in and I'm here, I get my modified S, I straighten out my leg and I lay down next to him. Right now I'm very relaxed. I'm not even flexing, I'm not even squeezing. But yeah, I can guarantee you Gage is already feeling a little bit of tension. Now through here, I push in and I pull myself in and then set my squeeze to make my choke. If he starts to turn, I will just stay. If it feels like I'm losing my position, keep moving. That's where my back step occurs, which is not really a back step. When he turns to his side and I feel like I can't control him anymore, all I'm doing is a small windshield wiper with my foot. There is no back step. My knee never left. The only thing that happened was, as I was here, my foot, when he turned sideways, just went from one side to the other. My knee never left. Once my foot makes a connection, I can push him away from me. And again, I'm doing for the choke is extremely minimal. You're not seeing me jumping I'm not getting into a position where I have to lift my body weight up in the air to make the transition from one side to the other. I stay low and I stay heavy the entire time. When he turns to his side and I feel like I can't hold it anymore, I just take my foot, windshield wipe it to the other side. It's a way smaller gap, okay, because before his hips are this wide, now his hips are only this wide. So for me to make the windshield wiper such a small little piece, then I can go off into my whole side choke, the true side choke if I need to. But I'll tell you right now, I mean, for me, 90% of all my chokes are just laying in this little twisted mount. I don't even have to backstep because it never happens. Okay, 10% of the time I need to, but it's really rare. All right, let's give it a shot.